I really wanted to make nerdy computer graphics images. So I kind of set on a path to try to learn these skills. I ended up getting into the digital media design program at the University of Pennsylvania, where I thought I was going to do art. Despite the name, it's actually more of a computer science program. So I had to really go out of my way in college to find opportunities to do graphics, at least of the type I was interested in. And I actually got involved in the campus television station, UTV-13, where I became literally a technical director in the original meaning of the word. That is, someone who sits behind a monitor while a TV show is being shot and switches between cameras and presses buttons to add silly effects. So I did this for a little bit. That was not the job I was looking for. But one of the fortunate things about getting involved with the campus television station is I got involved with a group of students that wanted to make animated shorts, including a guy who was super influential in my life, Ray Forziati. He was a year older than me in my degree program. And he somehow knew about RenderMan. That is Pixar's rendering software. And he was saying, hey man, if you want to get into this industry, read this book. And it was the book Advanced RenderMan, which I have in my office. Let me get it real quick. So check out this book. Nobody should read this. This is very obsolete. This is from before the turn of the millennium. But this is by Tony Apodaca and Larry Gritz. Tony is still here at Pixar in our theme parks division. Larry is now at Sony, father of the open shading language standard. But basically, I started reading that book, which was all about writing shaders, something I had never heard of. I always thought graphics was something where you'd paint or sculpt. But the idea of using code to describe how light interacts with materials and how texture is put on, it just seemed like sorcery. And I really wanted to learn more. So I got very into shading after reading this book. But unfortunately, when I applied for jobs, this was now a sophomore in college, I got rejected from every internship I applied to, whether it was LucasArts or Pixar or ILM. So instead, I got a job on campus. And I was actually at the time doing a lot of psychology coursework, and I was looking for jobs in the psych lab. And one of the jobs required C programming. I was like, ooh, this is kind of a nerdy psych job. And it described a little bit of knowing how light interacted with materials in physics. So I got the job, and the professor was really interested in using computer graphics imagery to validate actual human psychological responses. Like, can you tell if the color of these spheres are the same in these lighting conditions, that kind of thing. So to be perfectly accurate, he didn't trust just RGB. This is Dr. Brainerd, by the way, in the Penn Color Science Lab. He didn't just trust RGB. He wanted 31 wavelengths. He went from 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers. So it's like, no, none of this RGB renders. I want 31 numbers per pixel. Can you give me these images? And it's like, this is my chance to use RenderMan and use all the code and funky stuff I saw in this book. So I actually wrote a MATLAB program that would read reflectance data from this car reflectance database I found on Cornell's website and write out a different RenderMan shader for each wavelength. So I'd render the image 31 times and then put it through his program to get the image we'd use in the experiments. So I got really into car paint. Because that's actually one of the most well-studied materials out there with the most data online. And fast forward a year, when I'm applying to Pixar's internship program, here I am, like, they're asking me about what I work on. I'm telling them about this car paint project. Turns out that's when the movie Cars was in production. And the supervising technical director was really also into car paint. So we're talking about car paint for a long time and how it reacts to light, and how Ford Mystique was my favorite car paint because it had a view-dependent color. It was green at facing angles, purple at grazing angles. And that pretty much got me the job as an intern. So it actually was working in a psych lab, but that really got me the opportunity. So I was very lucky, suffice to say. And there's always a bit of luck to being able to break into this industry. So yeah, once I got the job as an intern, I worked on the film Cars, worked doing shading tools, as well as render optimization. Cars was the first Pixar film where ray tracing was a big part of it, which is amazing in this day and age that was even a big deal. You know, here we are talking about real-time ray tracing on the latest GPUs. And back then, the kind of stuff I was doing was like occlusion renders were so expensive. Could we bake our occlusion and reuse it as we tweak it? Because it was too expensive to compute very often. So that was the kind of stuff I was working on, using 3D data structures to store occlusion data so that artists could reuse it from frame to frame. All technology that's woefully obsolete by now. But yeah, I got my start doing that. Went back to school, but got a full-time job after that. So then I came back full-time. So I was intern for 6 months, went back to school, came back, and I was still working on cars. It takes that long to make a film. I didn't realize it at the time, but yeah, again, render optimization. But right around the end of Cars was when Ratatouille first realized they needed a lot of crowds in the film. And this is, if you recall of the era, this is right around when Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King came out. So everyone was talking about massive. Everyone was talking about crowd simulation. And Pixar was one of the early animation studios to pick up massive for use in crowds. And of course, no one knew how it worked. And I was a new guy. So like, hey, how about you learn massive? So I was one of a few people that picked up the tool. And on Rat, I got a chance to basically create brains for our rat agents that we would then put in shots and do crowd simulations for. So for a number of years, I was doing crowd brain design, which is a weird concept, but it's kind of like robotics, but for animated characters. And I did that for a number of years, but as often happens, any pipeline you create becomes obsolete in a few years. And as great as our crowd massive pipeline was, by the time we got to Brave, all of our animation software had changed. We moved from our old legacy marionette system to our modern Presto system, which pretty much completely wiped out the crowd pipeline. So then I started from scratch, basically working on a new crowd pipeline for the studio on Brave. That's been something we've been building over the years. We've since incorporated Houdini into the pipeline. We've now have a USD in the system. We've done path tracing. Well, the story is are now rewriting the software again. So we've gone through many generations of software in the time. I've been mostly working with crowd simulation. I've gone from being an individual artist working on shots to leading teams. I led a crowds team on Brave. I supervised the crowds team on Finding Dory, Incredibles 2, and now onwards. So it's my fourth time being a crowd supervisor. But one of my favorite things about the gig is after being a supervisor, I get to go back doing nerdy pipeline development. So there's always kind of a, almost a rhythm or seasons at Pixar where you get a chance to lead a team or work on shots, and then you get a chance to make the tools better after that and rethink the assumptions you made. So it's never the same twice. And yeah, it's a fun gig.